What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my review of the Samsung Galaxy A03. So let's get started. Now, the A03 is one of Samsung's latest budget devices, and this phone is actually not sold officially in the US. There is a similar device to this one called the A03S that is offered on US carriers, but if you are in the US, you can still buy this device factory unlocked, and I will be linking to it in the video description. But the Galaxy A03 is the successor to last year's Galaxy A02, and there's quite a few improvements going from that device to this device, so I definitely recommend that you watch my full comparison video between those two devices here on the channel. Now, before I show you a variety of different things about the device, let's take a closer look and see what all comes included here in the box. So in the box, we have a quick start guide, a micro USB cable for charging and data transfer, we have a USB wall adapter, and we have a SIM card removal tool. So yes, it is very disappointing that the Galaxy A03 does not have USB-C, but we'll be talking about that more later on in the video. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A03, we have a really nice looking 6.5-inch display. Now the display is PLS IPS LCD. It is 720p, so I do wish it was 1080p, but for a 720p display, I do think things look very nice here. So in general, I'm very happy with it. We have a PPI of 270, a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor, and we have an 81.8% screen to body ratio. Now, having such a large display on this phone really does make it ideal for content consumption. So if you're going to use the phone to go on social media or browse the web, and especially if you're going to use the phone for watching video content, having such a large canvas here really does come in handy for that. Now up top here, we do have a water drop notch for the front-facing camera, which is 5 megapixels. And stay tuned for later on in the video, as I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from all the various cameras on this device. And then we do have a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel here as well. Now in general, the A03 has a pretty standard design. I mean, I've seen so many different Android smartphones with pretty much the same exact design, having that water drop notch up top and the thicker bottom bezel. So this phone is almost impossible to distinguish from many other devices that have launched in the last several years, especially if you're looking at it straight on. Now, as far as the back of the phone goes, there's really not much different or interesting here either. We just have that squared off camera module, which I know in other videos people have mentioned that it does look pretty similar to what you can find on an iPhone. Now the Galaxy A03 is offered in 2 different storage configurations. This could differ based on the region that you're in, so keep that in mind, but the phone is offered in both 32 and 64 gigabytes. Another nice thing as well about the Galaxy A03 is that we do have the ability to add in a micro SD card to offload photos and videos, for example. So I'm definitely a fan of that, and if you combine that with having already a decent amount of storage, especially for a very low-end device, you're pretty much good to go when it comes to space on the phone. Now there's no wireless charging with the Galaxy A03, and there's also no fingerprint sensor, which is pretty disappointing. I'm a big fan of having a fingerprint sensor as it makes getting into the phone very easy. Now the device does feature Face Unlock, so at least we're covered when it comes to that, and the Face Unlock does work pretty well here. So you can see that it's very fast and responsive, almost instantly really. It recognizes me, and then I'm able to get into the phone here. So definitely props to Samsung for giving us a very fast and accurate face unlock with this device, but I certainly would have preferred to also have a fingerprint sensor as well. Now with the Galaxy A03, we have a dual camera setup on the back of the phone with a 48 megapixel main camera and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera to assist with portrait mode. So this phone does have portrait mode for both the rear and front cameras, which is certainly a nice thing to see. Now here's how things look on the camera app on the device. This is the main camera right now. So it is a little bit disappointing that with the A03, there is no macro camera and there's also no ultra wide angle camera, but at least we do have a pretty decent 48 megapixel main camera. Now in the camera app, you can see that we have the standard photo mode. We can also go over to video. We can go over to the More tab for some other options as well. We can then go over to portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds that I know that many people are a big fan of. We can also flip around to the front-facing camera and take a selfie. So here's portrait mode with the front-facing camera. We can also go over to take standard selfies as well. And this device also supports taking group selfies. So you can switch over to this option here to crop out a bit, which definitely can come in handy if you have multiple people that you're trying to fit in a photo. Now, the camera quality from the Galaxy A03 isn't anything too special. Thankfully, it does at least get the job done. Compared to a $1,000 smartphone, for example, you're not getting nearly the photo quality that you'd be getting, but of course, this device is a fraction of the price. Now, keep in mind, we are missing out on features like an ultra-wide-angle camera. There's also no macro camera either, but at least with the main camera on the device, we can still capture images that are good enough to post on social media. And I suppose if you're going on a vacation, or maybe you're at some sort of family outing or something, and you want to take some photos to preserve those memories, the phone is still adequate for that. But again, compared to pretty much any other device that's more expensive than it, the photo quality here pretty much is giving you what you're paying for. But let's now take a look at some video samples from the Samsung Galaxy A03. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with a 1080p front-facing test video from the Samsung Galaxy A03. Definitely curious to know what you think of both the video and audio quality. And here is a rear-facing 1080p test video from the Samsung Galaxy A03. We do have pretty fast and accurate autofocus in video mode, which is great. It's very windy out today. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A03, we do have two different options when it comes to the amount of RAM that you're getting. The device is offered in both 3 and 4 gigabytes of RAM, and the processor here is the Unisoc UMS 9230. Now, I haven't used too many Samsung devices with Unisoc processors, but I have used phones from other companies with processors from that company, and in general, I'm actually pretty happy with the performance that we're getting here. It's quite a bit better compared to last year's Galaxy A02, which honestly was close to being unusable. But you can see here I did run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test with the device, and I got a single core score of 304 and a multi-core score of 1182. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of whether or not the Galaxy A03 is going to be a performance upgrade for you. But again, compared to the A02, we're getting quite a bit of a faster phone here, which is great. And in general, I'm really happy with the performance from it. I feel like it could have been way slower, honestly, for a phone in this segment. Now, video recording with the Samsung Galaxy A03 maxes out at 1080p with both the front and rear cameras, so that's not too bad for a lower end device. Now, with this phone, we are getting a very large 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery, so a really generous amount of battery capacity with the phone, so you should definitely expect to get at least a day, if not two, of battery life. Now the software on this device is Android 11 with Samsung's One UI 3.1, and I'd imagine that the device will eventually be getting Android 12 because Samsung has recently pledged to give all of their A-series phones up to 4 years of software updates. So that's probably one of the best things about this device, is that you know that it's going to get a long period of support from Samsung, and with pretty much all the competitors, they do not update their lower end phones, really if at all, but if they do, it will really just be one major update. So Samsung is pretty much the leader at this point when it comes to Android software updates, so that's a really nice thing. So this device should definitely get Android 12, if not Android 13, 14, and 15 as well, I suppose. That's pretty amazing to think that this phone will eventually be getting Android 15. Certainly very impressive, and I'm glad that Samsung is taking leadership when it comes to Android software updates. Now, this device does unfortunately have micro USB. I already talked about it earlier on in the video. Certainly very disappointing. Honestly, pretty much a deal breaker for me at least. I've moved pretty much completely to USB-C at this point, so it's actually already a pretty big inconvenience to be using this device. Of course, I still have some micro USB cables, but I don't have nearly as many of them. And then another thing to keep in mind too is that micro USB is not as durable as USB-C, so you probably are more likely to run into issues over a long period of time, of course, with being able to plug in the charger and having it actually work. So I guess my recommendation is that if you end up getting the Galaxy A03, just be careful with the charger as it's not as durable as the various USB-C counterparts that you'd find with other phones. Now, taking a closer look at the hardware of the phone, I already mentioned this, but the phone really doesn't have anything too exciting about it. The front panel here is pretty standard with what you'd find with pretty much any lower-end Android phone. We have a water drop notch and then thicker bottom bezel, but thankfully, the display does look really nice, which is good. Taking a look at the left side of the phone, we just have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have volume up, volume down, and the power button. Then up top here, we have the noise-canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, micro USB port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. It is also very nice to see that we do at least have a 3.5mm headphone jack, because that is something that's disappearing very quickly from many Android phones. For example, the new Galaxy A53 5G does not have a headphone jack on it. So that's pretty remarkable that now we're starting to see A-series phones that don't have a headphone jack. So I'd imagine that probably next year in 2023, all the A-series phones will no longer have a headphone jack, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see. And then taking a look at the back of the phone, I already mentioned this, but we do have this squared off camera module. It's kind of different and unique, I suppose, at least when it comes to Samsung's A-series devices, but again, many people have mentioned in the comments that it does remind them of the camera module on the back of the various iPhones. We also have this nice texture on the back of the device. I like that it doesn't pick up any fingerprints, which is great. We also have the Samsung logo, and that's pretty much it. Up-to-date pricing and availability for these devices, then take a look at the links in the video description. So the video viewing experience with the Galaxy A03 is really good. As I mentioned earlier, we do have this really large display, which does make this phone especially ideal for watching video content. I like too that you can crop in further, which is something that you can do on pretty much any Android phone, but considering that we do have this 20:9 aspect ratio, it really does give you a very immersive video viewing experience. And again, for a phone that does have a 720p display, I do feel like videos do look decently crisp and clear here, and in general, I'm pretty happy with it. Now, as far as speaker quality goes, thankfully, the speakers do get plenty loud, so that's not an issue at all. You'll have a great experience watching video content. However, the only problem with it is that we don't have stereo audio with this phone. However, that's not something that I'd really expect with a device that is this low end, but essentially if you're watching videos or listening to music, you're only going to be getting audio coming out of the speaker on the bottom of the device. Compared to more premium phones, like the iPhone 13, for example, where you get audio coming out of both the main speaker and the earpiece as well. Now, of course, the earpiece is still used, but only for phone calls. So in conclusion, I think the Samsung Galaxy A03 is a really solid budget device. There certainly are quite a few shortcomings to it, but at the same time, you probably should expect that for a very affordable smartphone. Probably the biggest deal breaker for me is that we do have micro USB with the phone. That's something that I really don't like to see. But the trade-off, on the other hand, is that we are getting pretty decent performance with this device. So if you do currently have an A02, for example, I do feel like this phone is a solid upgrade from that, really just based on performance alone. This phone is going to run way better. I'm glad that Samsung did give us some upgrades with the A03. I'm definitely curious to see how next year's A04 looks in comparison. Hopefully that phone has USB-C. But for now, this is the phone we have, and I think it is a good option if you're not looking to spend too much money, but at the same time, you want a good working phone. But I hope you enjoyed my review of the Samsung Galaxy A03. If you liked it, definitely give the video a thumbs up. But this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next video. Take care and have a great rest of your day.